There we are, Sarah. Oh my goodness, thank you. Just thank you so, so much. You've no idea what this means to me. I have been chasing you for a long time to get you onto this screen, and finally you're here. So thank you. Thank you on behalf of Shelley and all the rest of the team for taking time out of your day, spending it with me here. We're just going to have a right good blether and probably a right good greet.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, but on behalf of us all, thank you. Thank you very, very much. I'll just go past straight over. I've so much I'm going to talk about, but I'm really going to try and keep my lips sealed tight and let you do as much talking as possible because you've got an amazing, amazing story to share with us all today. So Sarah, over to you. Let all our viewers know where in the world you are, a wee bit about yourself and your family life too, please. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Sarah. I'm 61. I live in Warwickshire.
I actually can't believe you're 61.
Yeah, 61. And lived in Warwickshire. I've been here almost 4 years, having moved down from Yorkshire to live with my new partner now, husband Alan. And we have 5 children between 20 and 28, 3 girls, 2 boys.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have a rescue dog from Cyprus and a rescue cat from the Yorkshire Cat Protection. And I was born in Thailand, grew up in Dundee from 3 to 17, which is kind of strange kind of link.
So ironic. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so kind of Shelley and FOB brought me back to Dundee, which is strange. Yeah. So, and I retired a year ago, and to do all the things that I've always wanted to do and never got around to doing. So traveling, which I have done a bit of, but more to do, and just seeing more of family and friends who are scattered everywhere, really, around the UK and around the world. So that's my plan.
Just having that wee bit of extra time, you know, so you can now do that. You can plan so far ahead, as well in your journeys to visit friends and to travel around the world as well. I'm saying, Sarah, I can't believe that you're 61, and I genuinely say that because I watch you every single day. My goodness, lass, what you kind of do when you're on those workout Zooms, it just is fantastic. But I've also worked out alongside you in real time when we spent time with each other in Menorca on Shelley's retreat just a few months ago as well. You're absolutely amazing. What you have done with yourself, how you've transformed your body into such a healthy and fit woman. It's absolutely remarkable. So a huge congratulations on everything that you do. And I know that the camera doesn't always show a person's physique, but you are an amazingly strong and fit woman. So I need to put that out there. Definitely. So let's get back to Feel Look Be. How did you find out about Shelley and her programme, and when did you join?
So I joined in beginning of October 2020, and I had watched Lindsay Goebel's journey. And I met Lindsay when we both had our first babies, and we were really just in touch on Facebook, hadn't seen each other for...
I didn't know that you guys knew each other.
Yeah. So,
our beautiful Lindsay.
Yeah, so we both had, she was the very competent young mum and I was the older mum, and we both had 3 babies, similar ages, but we hadn't seen each other for a long time. Of course, we have now, thanks to FLB. But I'd seen her posts, and I thought, and she looked, you know, she'd lost a lot of weight, she looked amazing, and I just decided I needed to do something. I had no idea really what I was like myself before. I don't think I had any idea about
it. Any of us do.
No, but I just thought I need to do something. I think it was a combination. I'd lost myself. Combination. I'd been through loads of stuff, and I thought, oh, I've got through all that. I'm fine. And then it was just the last sort of 2 things that happened to me, which were minor things really compared to other stuff, just floored me for some reason. And so, I mean, the last 2 things were falling out of the loft and breaking my leg. And then I have one one of our kids, my stepdaughter, won't unfortunately have anything to do with this. So had literally blanked me on a number of occasions, and it was starting to make me feel invisible. And I thought, oh, this is stupid, you know. So that was it really. I joined, and that was it. No, I've never looked back really.
So
I did the
really
bits first, and straight into FLB. Yeah,
fantastic. But that's really interesting, Sarah, because so much people are looking predominantly for weight loss. When they come to a program like this, straight away they just think diet. But it's not that. I mean, that is obviously part of it. We work out our meal plans, we eat clean. But there's also this part of our lives that we've either got past stuff that niggles at us or current stuff that just makes us lose our way a wee bit or lose our identity, or we can't find focus on ourselves or where we're wanting to be. But falling out aloft and breaking your leg, I mean, well, for a start, how bloody lucky are you? It was only your leg. But also how much that can really set just a normal, able-bodied person back. You know, it's a tough thing because you're off your feet for a long, long time.
Yeah, it was like, because I was coming to start this new life, and I arrived with 2 Zimmer frames, a frame around the toilet, crutches, a wheelchair. I thought, oh, this wasn't quite how it was supposed to be. But anyway, we got through it, and
however, even though you weren't, able or mobile enough to go about, that also is just a small part of a huge, huge program that we've got here, because there's so much other things that you can be doing or learning and finding your way in things as well. Sarah, do you mind talking a wee bit about your past? Because you haven't had an easy journey, and obviously this is up to you to how much you want to talk about it, but it's really, I think your story is going to connect with so much people, even if it's just a little bit of each chapter, because your story is a book and it needs to be written in a book. And I can say this because we spent quite a lot of time talking about everything. And I need to say to our viewers, have the tissues at hand, because your story, although there's a hell of a lot to talk about, we obviously have an amazing happy ending. So hence the tissues are for the happy tears. So are you in a position that you want to, or
that's fine. I'll try and do the brief version of it because it's a bit of saga. So basically, my first husband was diagnosed with a form of leukemia in 2011, and the same year my son developed anxiety and school phobia and stopped going to school. So that was quite difficult. And then in September 2013, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and had chemo for that to shrink the tumour, and was just coming to the end of the chemo. It was actually the last day of my chemo, but I still had the surgery to go through. My husband left, basically. So that was a little difficult. So my watch is talking to me, I'll take it off. So he left. And fortunately, I've got some fantastic friends who supported me, and my eldest daughter took me in for what turned out to be 4 operations in the end, because I had a lumpectomy. They didn't get clear margins. Then I had the mastectomy, and then later on I had the reconstruction. So I got through all that, and I was just kind of getting my life back on track. 6 months later, my ex-husband rang me to tell me that he had stolen $250,000 from his employer. So, which was a bit of a shock, obviously. And then when I started to look a bit more closely at our finances, I realised he'd taken all the equity out of the house, and our financial position was desperate. And I got some free guidance from a criminal solicitor who basically said to me, "You won't save anything. They'll think you knew about it, and you'll lose everything: cars, house, everything." and that just triggered something in me, and I thought, I'm not accepting that. I'm going to fight. And I think if I'd been on my own, I hadn't had three children, one of whom was in a desperate state, really, and had just lost his only male role model, really. Would I have fought as hard? I don't know. Anyway, so I basically, to cut this as short as possible, I fought. It took me 2 years to fight through the courts. And my husband got, because he was ultimately sent to prison, and he got legal aid basically and had a barrister. Because I was working, I didn't get legal aid, so I represented myself, which wasn't easy. If you can imagine standing up in a courtroom with all these barristers. I mean, some of them were kind of tried to help me, even though they were really on the other side. But anyway, I fought for 2 years, and we bounced backwards and forwards between the criminal and the family courts. And eventually I managed, with a bit of help from my dad, and managed to save the house. And I'd been waiting for the cars to be taken, mine and the girl's car. I was waiting for the bailiffs all the time to come round. Anyway, we did, when we finally got to the family solicitor, she just said, you need the cars. End of story. So yeah, I managed to save the house, and which was really important because it was my son's safe place. And I'd had to say to him, look, we may have to go into a council house. In fact, I said, we won't get, because we won't be priority. I knew that. I said, we'll probably have to go into a bed sit. That's probably the best that they would offer us. And I thought, I've got to tell him. But I thought, actually, I don't think he's got an understanding of what that means, really. Anyway, we didn't have to do that. So that was all fine. And so that was that. And I was in remission from my breast cancer. And then I thought, I'm going to try internet dating. And all my friends went, ugh. Anyway, I thought, no, I'm going to try, because I don't even know if I can do the love thing again, which we've talked about. But if I don't try, I'll never know. And so I'm just going to see. And if I can't, then I know, and I'll just get on with my life, and that'll be fine. So, of course, I did meet somebody, which is how I've ended up living in Warwickshire. And my life is just immense. It's that thing that I think Tony Robbins talked about, and Shelley's talked about, how, hitting rock bottom and the worst things in your life can take you to the best place in your life. And that's exactly where I feel I am. So, having been in a place where I couldn't see a way out, and it's that thing, just do one little thing to move yourself forward. And every day, that's what I would do. One little thing, whatever it was. I'd make a phone call. I'd write something that I needed for the court, whatever it was. And that's always my advice to anybody that just cannot see your way forward. Just do one little small thing that moves you forward every day. So that's the potted version of it.
Well, Sarah, it doesn't matter how much you shorten your version of your life in that moment. It's immense. It's absolutely immense. And it sounds like you've just sort of a bit of a blasé, oh, well, this happened and that happened. But until you actually really think and dig deep into everything that you and your beautiful children were put through and had to go through, but the strength that a lot of women really do have to dig for. And I think you really said that as well, if it hadn't been for the children. And I think sometimes that's where some people maybe get lost in life, because just for themselves is not maybe a big enough reason to dig deep. But when you have that other reason, the children are relying on you, they need the roof over their heads. And for them to have watched what you had to go through and how you found that strength within yourself to do that, for them, they must honestly look up to you every single day and just think, my goodness, look at my mom, look what she had to go through, and look how she went through it. But then to come out the other side, and to meet your beautiful now husband, and here on Feel It Be, we all got to experience that time when he became your husband. And we all sort of felt that we were part of your wedding, because as you've journeyed through Feel It Be in almost 3 years, we've gotten to know you and Alan so, so well. And we were there at your wedding. I know it was a very small one because you had your COVID restrictions and things that you had to go through. But here was us, hundreds of us in the back. I know you couldn't see us, but I know that you would have felt us all there. And that happiness that we all oozed for you, and we still do, obviously, as well. And that's special. That's very, very special. Indeed. So do you think in your time that where your head was, and you'd obviously gotten through an awful lot of stuff, you'd met Alan, you're now planning your future lives together, but all that stuff's still there. I mean, it doesn't go away. You can talk about it, and you've maybe tried to push away some of the anger and the hatred and things like that, but it's always there, isn't it? It's always.
And I think I didn't realize. I think I thought I'd let it go, and then I realized that I hadn't. I still had anger and resentment towards my first husband, but the gratitude stuff is the thing that really, really helped me. And it sounds like a simple thing, doesn't it? Just to be grateful. But it's that little shift in your mindset to thinking about all the bad things or the things that have gone wrong, and just shifting from that to look at the things you have got, and the good things. And there's always, it might just be a little thing, but it doesn't matter what it is. And that has just made all the difference. And I got to that point, fortunately. My first husband passed away 18 months ago from bowel cancer. It was all very quick at the end, and unfortunately I just got to the point where I had really let that go before that happened, and I was able to be there for the children, and I was at the hospital with them when he died. I wasn't in the room, but I was there when they came down, so I could fully support them. And I had to his family were also there, and I hadn't seen them since everything had gone. And you know what it's like with, especially when involved. So they had obviously taken sides, and I hadn't seen them since. And I thought it's really important that the children see me do the right thing here. So I just went and hugged his sister, and the children said to me afterwards, "Mum, that was so, that was so lovely." And I thought, I want them to know how to behave in these situations. So, it wasn't, I'm not saying it was easy, but I knew it was the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And huge hats off to you for that, because as you say, with the support that Shelley has given you through the mindset and the gratitude, and being able to look at positives such as the fact that you're now in a new life with Alan, somebody who you would never have met, possibly, through all the things that you've been through. But to then be able to stand up and be a strong mum yet again for your children, and to be there whilst they were losing their dad, despite everything that you've been through as a mum, yet again, digging deep and finding that time. And it's so true, showing the children just how we do behave, or how we should behave under these circumstances. And that's very important. And it's something that I pass on to my children every single day. Hard, not easy, should I say? It's hard.
Not easy.
But just by flicking that little switch and just knowing, no, this is the right way that we do things, or we should react or act in situations.
And I think it's realizing that actually hanging on to this stuff just hurts you. It just hurts you. It doesn't hurt the person that you're angry with at all, because they don't care, or they're oblivious or whatever. So it's that realization, which again sounds obvious, but sometimes it can take a while to get to that.
Right. And I think that's something that Shelley brings to our clients all the time. When we're sitting going through our mindset program, part of the program, it's very important because a lot of the time she'll be saying stuff and you'll be like, oh God, she's so right. She's so right. This is how we should do things.
Yeah.
But because you're taking the time to sit there and listen and maybe doing your homework and doing your notes, you probably, well, I know I wouldn't be doing that without that guidance and that
No,
support.
I would not have got to that point without the mindset and Shelley. I know I wouldn't. And I think so, and sometimes you think, like I said before, you think you're okay, you think you've let it go, and then something happens and you think, oh no, I really haven't,
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's made a massive difference to my life. Yeah.
Tell me, how do you connect when Shelley is on that screen in front of you and she's talking to all her hundreds of clients, but she's really connecting with you?
Yeah, you just feel she's talking to you, don't you? And exactly, she always says, spin it, and I always, in my head, if it's something happens, like that, and I think, right, spin this, Sarah, spin it, so
I know on quite a few occasions myself, we talk about the box of tissues, but it wouldn't be the first, and it definitely won't be the last time that I have sat with that box of tissues next to me whilst we've been going through parts of our program, because she just really makes you think. And it doesn't matter what words she's using or what situation she's maybe describing, it gets into your head and it really touches you and your part in your life and these things. So yeah, she's got an amazing way of
yes.
doing. However, when you then meet her face to face, it just gets ramped up even more. And we obviously went through a lot of mindset on her retreat when we were in Menorca. But a completely different atmosphere. It was brought on, obviously face to face, but in an environment that, well, that I couldn't actually put into words. And I don't know, can you, Sarah? How did it affect you when
It was, for me, a complete emotional and physical roller coaster. But in a good way. Obviously, we covered everything really, and then there were little mindset sessions. I mean, there was one, I think there were half a dozen of us on the first day with Shelley. We went for a walk and she did a little mindset session. It was about letting things go, actually, funnily enough.
That was really interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really good. It was like thinking about something that was an issue for you, basically thinking about it, and then she gave us all the stone and told us to basically just throw away that problem, throw the stone in the sea. And it was a really effective thing, just so there were little things like that. And then there were the group mindset sessions, which were, well, very emotional, but very safe, and people were able to open up and really share some deep and personal stuff that I think a lot of people hadn't shared before, including you, Leslie.
I think the fact that we were able to share, because when we're doing our mindset sessions on the screen, we're not sharing with MD, we're listening and we're taking our notes and we're doing our homework. But to have that, to be in that situation where we did actually speak out loud, and it was irrelevant to who was actually with us. It was just the fact we felt safe and we were in a position that we could say so much out there. And by putting it out there, it's almost like just releasing it, isn't it? Like throwing that stone over a cliff that I've got to say was very high. And I did think I'd really want to throw this stone quite far, but if I put too much in
with it. I thought what was nice about the retreat was, because obviously there were some people that weren't part, there was some of the yoga group there, and they very quickly got on board and were also prepared to share. And that is her magic, really. That is Shelley's magic, that she made those people in a very short period of time. And actually, two of them, the boys,
Yeah,
and usually it's a bit of a generalization, I know, but harder for boys to share, but they did it.
absolutely.
And I just thought that was absolutely fantastic. Just yeah,
Because they
just
felt safe.
amazing.
They just felt safe to be
That's
able to be themselves and open up. And yeah, just be part of it. It was
yeah.
I actually came home feeling completely drained, physically and emotionally.
Uh,
So much people have asked me how my holiday was, and it's like, I need a holiday to get over that.
I actually needed to sleep for a week. I was so tired for the week afterwards. And I can say, you've been on a retreat. You're supposed to be rested.
But again, I think it's just that release mechanism, and yeah, and letting your body just sort of maybe come back down to earth and be in a new place.
Yeah,
And I think that's really important with any of those types of sessions that we have. I'm going to jump back onto talking about your Feel Look Be journey.
yeah,
So obviously you've spoken about all your past,
yeah,
which yeah, it still takes me quite a bit to come to terms because we spoke about it in more detail when we were on a
yeah,
one-to-one, and there's still quite a lot of that sits with me on a daily basis when I'm watching you working out on Zoom. Before Feel Look Be, tell me, were you fit? Did you do workouts or anything like that?
I've always been a walker, and I dipped in and out of exercise classes. You know, I didn't really. I occasionally go to the gym, but I always felt I had no idea what I was doing in the gym. You know, you get in there and you think, okay, there's all these bits of equipment and there's these weights, and but
Yeah,
I don't know what. So the exercise has been again almost alongside the mindset has been as much of has made as much of a difference to my life really. And I did join the workouts right from the very beginning. I took that decision. I know some people don't do that, but I wanted to do it. This is probably me. I wanted to do it all from the beginning, even though I couldn't probably do it very well at the beginning. And Shelley was probably going, "Oh my god." And I always think when she talks about her mum, and then sometimes she'll say to me, "Sarah, you're not doing anything like I'm showing." I thought, well, I think I'm probably a bit of a Vera.
I think there's a bit of Vera in all of us,
You know,
Sarah.
when she says that,
Absolutely.
you can't. And I'm thinking, I can't actually work that out.
Yeah,
But
I know.
yeah, it's made, and I really feel actually, probably this year, I can really feel the difference. I can see the difference. I've got
Yeah.
definition in my body, which I've never had in my life.
I've seen your abs, lass. I've seen your abs,
Uh,
61 years
well,
old, and look at your physique. And I know others can't, but oh my goodness, who would ever have thought? And I think that's the thing. People think, oh, you get to a certain age and you can't look in a certain way.
yeah,
My goodness, you're
and it's how we've talked about this as well because I've got a lot. I mean, I've had a lot of surgery, not just the breast cancer. I've had surgery on my bowels. So my stomach is a mess of scars, basically. And I've had surgery on my back, and then obviously where I broke my leg, surgery there. So I am a massive scars, and I did go through a phase where, you know, I wouldn't wear a bikini, which again we've talked about. And now I just think actually this is me, and I guess it's probably a combination. My body is more toned, but I'm still my stomach's still a bit of a mess. But I just think this is me, and actually this is my story here.
this is your story.
uh,
And my
and and if it makes other people uncomfortable, well, that's fine. But you know, this is me, and I'm that's the other thing. I am comfortable with me, and I don't think I was ever comfortable with me before. So that, you know, that's the other change. But the exercise, it makes me both physically. I love that feeling. It is a bit of a love hate, as you know, but
it is.
that that feeling of getting stronger, even the pain.
Yeah,
It's actually it's nice, but also it's the mental as well. So if I don't do it, one, I feel bad because I feel like I'm letting everybody else down if I don't turn up at 6:30. But it does affect me mentally. I don't feel as positive, and I feel more lethargic if I don't do it. So even if I'm really tired, coming into the 6:30 Zoom, once I've done it, I feel like I've got more energy. Well, once I've briefly recovered from that. So yeah, so it makes them, and that again, and that kind of links into that morning routine, which has also made a difference. Doing the different elements of that in the morning. I meditate every morning. I try to journal and read and do the exercise. I don't always do it in the same order, but it doesn't really matter. But that, and just getting up earlier than everybody else in the house. They all moan at me, why do you get up at that ridiculous time? And I think, well, actually, I get up at that ridiculous time because I get me time, and I get peace from some people saying to me, what we eating, what we, you know what it's like.
Absolutely. And that is definitely something that happens here for me, because as a mum, you are constantly looking after everybody else. So if I can have that hour, sometimes it's an hour and a half, school holidays, I'm getting a wee bit now, but this is my time.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the washing machine or the dishwasher or making food or anything like that. I am just purely spending time on me. And why shouldn't I? Because I work so hard the rest of the day, like yourself, Sarah, looking after everybody else. So this is my time, and I will never apologize or make excuses or give reasons for why I need to get up at that time of the day and spend time on myself. It makes you feel alive. It just makes you
does
something that is hard to put into words. But you're right, with the exercise, it's not just a physical thing, it's a mental thing. It gives you so much clarity and so much zest for life for the rest of the day, so you can look after everybody. Doing that for you at that time of the day, then they're going to have a rubbish day because you can't function properly for them. Tell me about your other health. I know you have been through so much, and I have seen you in your beautiful bikini, your journey with pride, because that is what your body is. That is your journey. It's your life. And you look amazing, Sarah. But tell me about the inside of you, because by eating clean the way that we do here, how did that affect you when you started on the program? Did you have weight to lose or anything like that, Sarah?
I probably, somebody else said this on it, I think it was Mel, about being a squishy. I was a squishy size 10, probably. I've never had a big weight problem, but I had that kind of tire around the middle, and I wasn't toned. So I did lose about just over a stone quite quickly, and my shape changed because I've always been quite hippie, and that kind of went, and my stomach went as well. It went flat basically. So that was nice, obviously, except for I had to my clothes literally they fell off me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because here's another thing. You're saying a stone. Now, some people say, "Oh, that's not a lot," or whatever.
No.
And it depends on what you're sort of looking at, and we're never comparing. We're never comparing, and that's really important, and it's something that we put across all the time. But for someone in your physique, a stone of weight all over makes a huge difference.
I didn't drop. I went from a 10 to an 8. Basically. So not a massive difference compared to some, but then I didn't. It wasn't really about that, but it was nice to have that as well. The food, it just is amazing, and I love it. And if I do, my main issue was migraines, and they'd been getting worse and worse, and they were lasting 2 days, and they were starting to make me sick.
And this was before Feel It Be?
This was before Feel It Be, and it was affecting me at work, because I was having to take time off work, more and more time, and they were happening every week and sometimes twice a week. So they were quite debilitating, really. And I did get medication, got triptans, but they made me feel spaced out. I didn't really like taking them, but sometimes I had no option. But since I've been on Feel It Be, I have them as a backup, but I very rarely need them. And I know it's sugar. If I do have any sugar,
Really?
yeah, that's it, migraine. Yeah, so I know that's the link. And so yeah, so that was my biggest issue. But I don't know whether you want me to talk about the rest of the family and the effects on their
Yes,
health
please,
as well.
please, Sarah. That'll be my next
Yeah,
question. You know,
yeah,
how has Feel It Be affected the rest of your family? Do they follow what you eat? Do you incorporate the clean eating that we do here in Feel It Be
yeah.
with the
Oh,
family? Tell me about Alan too, because we need
he
we
said
need.
he just said, "Oh, can I be on the interview?"
Is he here? Bring him
he's, down,
on.
he's down in the house, but yeah. Um, and when I started it, I said, "Look, I want to do this. You don't have to do it." So there's just Alan and my stepson. Well, I'll say that the others seem to turn up quite regularly, but anyway, mostly it's
Especially
just,
at meal times.
yeah, yeah. So and they just said, "Oh no, we'll do it." As well. They had no idea really. But to be honest, my stepson pretty likes eating that way anyway. The only thing he doesn't do, he tends to have porridge for breakfast, but apart from that, he eats as like we eat. Alan is the biggest, will talk to anybody about it and how marvelous it is. And he lost over 2 stone quite quickly, actually. And he was on high blood pressure medication and statins for cholesterol. And he was off those within 3 months. Talked to his GP, obviously, and the GP just said, "Whatever you're doing, keep on doing it." So it's
Amazing. So by following our
yeah,
meal plans, blood pressure, statins, cholesterol,
yeah. No, he doesn't
three
have
months.
his cholesterol is has stayed, and his blood pressure stayed, where they should
Yeah,
be normal,
two
basically.
stone
So
of weight. That
yeah.
is
The other
amazing.
thing was he had really dry skin, and that's gone as well. So it's made a big difference to him. And as I say, he talks to everybody about it. So yeah, and then obviously my daughter is a celiac and has inflammatory
Uh,
bowel disease. So she already obviously didn't eat any gluten, but she was struggling a bit with energy, and with the inflammatory bowel disease, and then a year ago was diagnosed with this uh, autoimmune condition of the liver, which is a progressive condition, which was a bit of a shock, obviously, to all of us.
wow.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, so eventually she will need a liver transplant, but she has. So initially, I think she was in a bit of denial, but I've been able to talk to her about, gut health and reducing inflammation, all that, and gradually she started saying to me, "Oh, Mum, that thing you make? Could you send me the recipe?" So she has tweaked her diet, and she pretty much eats as we do. Apart from she loves rice, and she said, "Mum, the only thing I can't do is give up rice." And I said, "Well, you're doing everything else." That I said, but fine.
That's
So
amazing, Sarah. So the education that Shelley has passed on to you over the years, you've been able to pass on. It's not just a case of sitting down to a
no,
decent plate of food in front of
I,
you. You've spoken to her about the gut health, the liver function, and all that education that Shelley brings to us.
yeah, she
Um,
is now. She's got her energy back. She's back doing park runs, playing netball, dancing, which she's always done. She had no energy before, and she looks really well. And she's got a spark back. Her spark had gone, and it's back, and it's just it's a joy. It's just a joy to see it.
oh,
And we're going to think about what's, and that's the other thing I've learned. It's really important that, like she wants to go off traveling next year, and I've said, fine, go and do whatever you want to do now while you're well, and if that changes, then we'll deal with it when it changes. But for now, and she's always been a child that's lived her life at 90 miles an hour, to be honest. Anyway,
and
so
that's the
yeah,
only way to live. If you've got the energy and the spark in you, then you go at 90 miles an
yeah,
hour,
yeah,
definitely. But that's
yeah,
so true, Sarah. We live for the now. And I think you're the prime example of you never know what's around the next corner. And it's so, so important that we have that health and that energy to live right now. Stop
Yeah.
too far ahead. And it's something I need to remind myself about so, so often, because I am a forward thinker and I probably do overthink things.
Yeah.
So instead of just go for it, just do it now. And
I'm the same, but I think what I've learned is, having kind of been at rock bottom, actually you can deal with anything. You can deal with anything if you set your mind to it.
yeah.
There's nothing that is insurmountable. Just, start with little step, and you can deal with it.
Sarah, you're an absolute amazing woman. I have learned so much from you over the years, but particularly these last few months. You've given me a real focus on life for the now. And I really, really am so grateful to you for that. Very, very much. I can't wait for the next time that we'll get together. And I know that you'll be up in Dundee soon. And if need be, if it has to be Christmas time, then I know that we'll be connected at a Christmas party as well. Is there anything else, Sarah, that you would like to talk about today?
And I might have to read this last bit because it might make me cry. So it's really just so it's just a bit about how it's changed my life, and just really to say it has changed my life forever. I'm sorry I'm reading this, but I can't. I know I'm going to cry. So I feel good about myself, and I can see that I look genuinely happy. And when I look back at photos of myself from before, I'm smiling, but I'm not. I can see the difference. It's just, I can't explain it, but I can see it in myself. And I spent my whole life feeling like I don't belong anywhere. And I finally found that sense of belonging with all of you. And I think the final piece of that jigsaw was the retreat, and the individual conversations I had with Shelley and Madeira and the other retreaters. It was just a final piece for me. And I feel like I've come home, and I have got, somebody else mentioned this week, I've got that deep level of peace and contentment. And I really just want to give back now whatever I can to help anybody else on the program, really. That's it. I might not to cry. But yeah, I do. I feel like I'm at home, and I'm not going anywhere.
The thing is, Sarah, what you've done here today, by just telling your story and being your beautiful self, you are sharing to others. And that is beautiful. And it's beautiful that we do share, that we pay it forward, and we have that ripple effect. You've got me.
Sorry.
Because there's so many people maybe have good news in them, but they find it hard to share because they maybe feel that they're being big-headed to say that they feel good about themselves or that this has happened to them, instead of sharing the fact that there's an opportunity for anybody else to have that feel-good factor and to be healthy, or to have that spark back and to feel alive again. So say thank you. Thank you so much for sharing and for letting everybody know your absolutely mind-blowing life story, because it is. And I can't wait for the day that it's in a book, because I want to read it. I want a signed copy. Please. And please make that your next goal.
It is on it's on my vision board.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And I often think some people feel a bit scared to write because they maybe don't think they've got the right grammar, or they're not quite sure about what words to use. But there's editors out there, and that's what other people are there for. So even by just having the basic sort of information there is enough for others to help with the rest of the writing process. So even if it's just bullet points for a start, it's like you were talking about, taking your small steps, little bullet points for a start, and then we go back and we fill in the gaps, and then get someone else to maybe tweak it to make it.
And I think it comes from here. It's authentic. It doesn't really matter how you write it.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Sarah, Before we go, you know the script. 5 words, please. If you can find only five, because I know it's hard. So
Oh, there's
five
some like
words to
big
describe
ones, I think.
Shelley.
So this is kind of a combination of Feel It Be and Shelley, I guess. So it's definitely unique. You won't find it anywhere else. Life enhancing or life changing, however you want to describe it. It's constantly surprising, which is fantastic. Just when you think you're in a routine, it all changes. But actually, I've learned to absolutely love that because it always gets better.
Yeah.
Always. um, and the last 2 words are, she's created a community. It's that sense of community and belonging, and those are the really important things for me.
Yeah, definitely.
And would I recommend it? Always, I would always.
And the community that we have, it just blossoms day after day. A huge connection that this tribe of women, and we keep having more and more ladies joining, and it just gets bigger and better and bigger. It's amazing. It's a
Yeah,
fantastic space to be, and one that anybody and everybody is welcome to join. And that's not a plug at all. It is purely to let people know that there is a safe and secure place for anybody to be part of.
it's joy to see those new people blossoming, isn't it? It's just fantastic. It's just
Yeah, definitely is.
yeah.
Sarah, I'm just going to end it there. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Very-
Indeed. Been an absolute pleasure. And we'll catch up tomorrow morning on my screen again.
You
For
see
another workout. Take care, Sarah. Thanks very much again. Take care.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.